proven, which hasn't been proven yet, some of this, if proven, some of this would be impeachable, yes.
Redacted version of the long-awaited Mueller report is now available to the public. And we're just learning tonight that the House Judiciary Committee is issuing a subpoena for former White House counsel Don McGahn. Good evening. I'm Gilad Malamed.
And I'm Elijah Shama. The Mueller investigation is complete, and it established that Russians made sweeping and systematic interference efforts in the 2016 election. It also did not find sufficient evidence of coordination efforts between the Trump campaign and Russians.
Despite the lack of charges, the probe did send 12 unknown referrals, meaning even though Mueller's report is in, the effects of his investigation might stick around for a while. Talking Points analyst Jack Watson is here in studio with a rundown of what the report's shaking up in Washington. Jack?
Well, Gilad, that's right. Just 4 days after the release of his full redacted report, the dust has settled a bit, and we know some more important specifics about Robert Mueller's report on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. But first, the overarching results here. First, the report says the president is not being charged by the investigation, but his claim that the report found, quote, no collusion isn't quite accurate. More accurately, the probe does not find sufficient evidence to fit the high legal standard of coordination beyond a reasonable doubt. The issue of obstruction is still unclear, but there are still 12 unknown investigations going on as a result of the probe so far. We'll get into that a little later, but for now, here's a few big takeaways besides the main things we've hit on so far. Aside from all the talk of what the Trump campaign did or did not do, one thing is made certain by this report. The Russian government made a, quote, sweeping and systematic effort to interfere in the 2016 election. Now, moving gears to a potential obstruction of justice charge, which we've been hearing a lot about. A name you'll need to remember is former White House counsel Don McGahn, who we just learned is being subpoenaed by Congress. His decision not to fire Robert Mueller when directed by the president could have helped save Trump's presidency and a potential tangible case of obstruction. We also learned that the president was upset by Jeff Sessions' recusal back in 2017 from the investigation and wanted Sessions to publicly proclaim the president's innocence. Now, because of the 12 unknown charges right now by Mueller and company, while the investigation is over, we could still feel the effect of the report for quite some time, Gilad.
Jack, now that we're a few days removed from the release, what has the reaction been?
Well, the reaction from both sides has been mixed. I'm going to divide it into two large categories, excuse me. Trump supporters and anti-Trump Republicans and Democrats. Now, the Trump supporter side has said that the investigation is the result of a politically motivated witch hunt, and the fact that it turned up nothing is just the fact that the establishment's talking heads on Capitol Hill did not like Trump's presidency, and this is what Rudy Giuliani had to say in an interview with Jake Tapper.
There's nothing wrong with taking information from Russians.
Well, we unfortunately couldn't get that, Elijah.
And speaking of that, a lot of Democrats are starting to call for impeachment proceedings. You saw Elizabeth Warren lay out her roadmap. What is the future of impeachment for Democrats?
Well, it's an interesting decision Democrats are weighing right now because the political gains, it's all going to be political, Elijah. The political gains from impeachment are obvious. They can campaign in 2020 by saying this president has been impeached, his presidency is maligned by this Mueller investigation. We can use that as a talking point the Democrats are saying to themselves. But also, an impeachment effort is likely going to be unsuccessful because the Senate, who would vote to remove the president from office if the obstruction charge was confirmed, it's controlled by Republicans, 51 plus Mike Pence. So, the political implications of this are going to be very interesting to look at.
Aside from that, looking ahead to 2020, what will the Mueller report's impact be on that?
Well, 2020, like you said, Elijah, we're already starting to see Elizabeth Warren talking about impeachment proceedings. It's going to be an interesting thing to look at because we have so many candidates, Biden about to be the 20th candidate entering the race, what they say about President Trump. And I'm sure that's going to come up in tonight's town halls on CNN. And I think that what you're going to see is, in order to malign the president, in order to sort of create a stronger point on the campaign trail, you're going to start to see a lot of Democrats start to push for that.
All right, Jack, and quickly, are we going to see something that can classify as obstruction come out later?
Well, that depends on what these 12 investigations turn up. We already know that there are 2 investigations that we know in the public, Michael Cohen and Greg Craig, the former Obama White House counsel. Now, I think that what you could see moving forward is, an effort by maybe an aggressive prosecutor to pursue obstruction charges, but that's, of course, up in the air. We don't really know what those 12 investigations are.
Right, and then obstruction's the big thing. Any other big things we've learned?
Well, I think, not to get into it too deep here, but the president's reaction to all this within the White House, confiding in some of the closest people to him, he said that, quote, it was the end of his presidency. According to the Mueller report, he had some strong words about the Mueller report and tried, and his people defied him in his efforts to sort of get Robert Mueller fired, at least the report says.
All right,
And
thank
we're going
you.
to have to leave it there.